So welcome everyone to the Meetup channel on emerging technologies. So this today's session, we are going to look at ChatGPT and how we can leverage the ChatGPT for your day-to-day work. So maybe you are from IT industry, or maybe you are from other creative industries. So from any industry that you are coming from, ChatGPT is at the moment is highly useful AI tool. And because of the impact from the ChatGPT, there are a lot of new AI tools comes into the marketplace. So in this session, we are going to look at how you can leverage ChatGPT, how best to use this product, and then what are the other options that is available. Toward the end of the session, we are looking at more technical side, how a software like this is created, what are the technologies behind that. So we are going to look at more technical perspective toward the end of the session. But the first part of the session is mostly discussing about the usage of ChatGPT and how we can best use this product, how we can leverage this tool to get most out of it. So this tool was released in 2022, but within few months it's getting really momentum. And now millions of users using this every day. There are paid version and the free version. But with any version, you get a same response. Only there are some limit on the speed and some limit on the features with the free version. Other than that, everyone can leverage either free or paid version, can best out of it. So this session brought to you by Blue Chip Training. So we'll get started. So we are providing some training consulting support on Python AI topics, deep learning, generative AI topics, also POC development support as well as a company. So these are some of the areas you can later go through Blue Chip Training website. So let's get started. So ChatGPT is a AI tool that helps you to leverage a lot of capabilities that tend to be a lot of research and work. Now it will be much more faster. So for example, let's say you want to create a project proposal, right? You want to do some research. So traditionally, what's the option? So you go to Google, you search through the certain keywords, and you research for days to find the relevant content. And from that content, you come to conclusion and you create a report. So that is a traditional way of doing most of the work, like project proposals, marketing proposals, so some kind of reports, those kind of work. Even programming, this is applied. So what ChatGPT does is it uses natural language way. So we call this as generative AI. So using natural language methodology, it managed to provide that much more effectively. So you don't have to do a research on a Google, and you don't need to spend weeks to do that. Within a couple of minutes or seconds, yeah, you can get your result, right? And there are certain techniques, like when you are asking, there are certain ways that we can ask this particular question. We call as prompt. So where you can ask this question in a certain way to get that particular answer. So we are looking at some of the tips and tricks that we can do during this session. So these are really useful for you in your industry. And it doesn't matter which industry you are coming from. Any industry, this is applied. So marketing, digital marketing, right? Any industry, this is applied. Project when you're doing, let's say, engineering work, a lot of work, it applies not only for IT, but by definitely, of course, for IT industry also, a lot of support is there. But apart from IT, a lot of other industries also get support. And this is heavily impacting creative industries as well. Because traditionally, creative industries are not going to be disrupted that much. You need to have, let's say, you are creating an image. So you need to have a graphic designer, right? When you are creating a certain, let's say, you are writing a song. So you need to have a songwriter. When you are writing a book, you need to have certain writing skills. So because of that, the creative industry, there are more people used to that. But now ChatGPT is kind of going to impact this creative industry as well, where it can write songs, it can generate scripts, it can write like content for books, articles, papers, anything, right? So it can do the research and find the work from that research much more effectively then person is doing that. I will show a lot of examples. So ChatGPT is a lot of impact in these creative industries, and now a lot of AI tools also coming in that direction. But for average, let's say, professional want to get that support. Let's say I want to get an image generated. I want to get an article, create article. I want to generate a documentation. That will be much more faster and effective. So that is why ChatGPT is really useful tool, and that is why millions of users all over the world using this particular product every day, right? That is why in the peak time you can see some slowness in this tool. So now we are closing into the US peak time from East Coast to the West Coast. So then you can see some heavy usage. So then the free version, you can see some bandwidth issues with the response. That is where they're trying to charge with the paid version, which is a $20 monthly subscription, where you get that disruption, like they have to make money also, like from the software. That is a one way of they are making money from the ChatGPT tool. So it's different from a traditional chatbot. I think you have used traditional chatbots. You have experienced a lot of customer service chatbots that we have in banks and other kind of systems where it have a conversation. Like you can type like hi, then it will type hello, how I can help you. Then it's like a conversation. So we call as a conversational bot. But ChatGPT doesn't have that conversation. It doesn't ask us how are you doing today, what can I do for you. So it's not going to do that conversation bit, right? It's only providing you with the response for your question. But we can have that continued discussion. So ChatGPT more like you are asking a colleague or friend for some problem than a conversation, right? They have put that in a way to also in a safe side of the bot, because earlier there were a couple of attempts from different companies to create this kind of bots, but some people, try to train it with negative content and negative information. Then it's try to go bias toward the negative side of things. So to avoid that also, they have used this particular technique. So we can ask for research, we can ask for content, we can ask for article, documentation, and there are a lot of technique. I'll be sharing a couple of documentation and research hands-on lab exercise during this meetup as well. So you can read through this additional material that I'll be providing later in the session. So you can see some use cases in ChatGPT. So this one is for administrators. So, in the IT industry, we have this team of people who call as administrators, IT administrators. So most common tool for these administrators are Linux environment. So in the administration for the Linux environment, they have to go with the Linux commands, right? They have to remember hundreds of Linux commands to get familiar with the situation. So that is a lot of like memorization kind of work, especially for IT administrators. That is a lot of memorization kind of work. So what you can do here is without actually memorizing these commands, you can give a scenario. So you can see here, you can give a scenario, right? So the IT administrator can now use ChatGPT to explain a scenario. Then ChatGPT will give you a command, right? So you can see we can like asking a colleague like that. So where we can explain a certain scenario, then ChatGPT will provide the answer for that scenario. So you don't have to like, if you Google it, you don't get that. Why? Because Google is only providing information already written in the website, right? So only you can get a command list, but you cannot get the answer for your exact problem, your scenario. Here you can see, I can explain it, the scenario, the problem. Then you can get the answer like that. So there are certain kind of keywords and terms. Of course, we can use natural language, but the way you write is also matters to get the output. So there are certain filtering that we can take. So I'm going to discuss a couple of these in this session. So you can see based on that, we can get and simplify the answer, right? So you can see the job of IT administrator will be much more effective and much more faster, where they don't need to go for internet. They don't need to remember almost all the things. Of course, they need to know the fundamentals, right? They need to know the fundamentals, but their day-to-day job will be much more faster. So that can also ultimately impact some number of job roles, because let's say we need 2 IT administrators, now we only need 1. So that can kind of impact can happen. But ultimately for a person, that particular person, their productivity can improve. Why? Let's say they take 2 hours to research this problem from Google and get the answer. Now it won't take, it's just matter of typing it, every response in the ChatGPT is couple of seconds away. So within couple of seconds, you will get any question answer within couple of seconds. If there's not a bandwidth issue, then within couple of seconds, almost every question, you will get the answer. Then this one for programmers. So, programmers, IT programmers have this problem of getting errors, right? When you are writing the code, you will get, there's a question, how long this first instruction will remain when you see. No, it will be saved forever. So like this, so you can see your history. Normally for 30 days, you can see. Later, I will explain the interface and everything. But here you can see previous 30 days. So normally 30 days of history you can see, and you can have as a multiple chats as well. Later I will explain the environment and the interface. Since you asked the question, I showed this. So around on average 30 days you can see history, but in the paid version you can get a little bit more edge than this. But you can have as a different conversation. It's not like all the question in a one section. You can categorize. Let's say you are working on a project report, that can be separate. Then you are working on administrator, that can be separate. So likewise, you can have separate sections here. So you can see different sections, and past history also there. This is March, this is previous 30 days. Like this, you can see past conversations. So that feature also they are giving like past conversations and history you can see. So for the programmers, you can see getting a problem is we call as programming errors. You have 2 type of errors, the syntax error and runtime error. So here you can see, you can ask the ChatGPT for a code block. So you can enter the code block and find the bug in the following code piece. Then what ChatGPT does is, sometimes the answer can differ from question to question. But in this case, you can see it gives explanation, and also it gives the correct code, right? So in Google, in traditional programmers, how they fix code is, we search Google and then go to Stack Overflow like website, and we find for a similar solution and trying to then apply it for that. But it's rarely we get the exact answer for our problem. We get a similar, yeah, I will share. So I'll be sharing this video as well. And also I'll be sharing a hands-on document, hands-on labs with a couple of prompts as well. So later I will share some cheat sheet document which is containing these commands. What kind of software language will ChatGPT help? So at the moment, all the main programming languages it helps, like Python, C++, Java, Ruby on Rails. So likewise, all the main programming languages you can get support at the moment for ChatGPT. But do not paste your solution, just paste the script for that particular code block, right? So at the moment still, because there's no way to upload your entire solution. Let's say you have 20 files as a solution, do not upload that, right? Not like that, but try to put into a one script, then upload that or copy that, then you'll get that, right? So it get a lot of supports for that, but for like very old school programming languages and things like that, like assembly and Fortran, maybe you don't get support, but standard programming languages, you can get the support, right? How you are using ChatGPT. So yeah, so I'm showing the steps like how to use the ChatGPT and how effectively use. So here I'm showing the like the steps, and later I will show that in the ChatGPT as well. So there's another question related to programming question. So when you try to copy the code, whole coding, so that's what I mentioned earlier just now. Do not copy to try to copy the solution or the like a large piece of block. Try to post like a small block code, like depend on the problem. But at least let's say for example 50 to 100 lines. Try to paste that. Do not paste thousands lines of code because you need to analyze everything. And maybe in the free version you don't get that of the some kind of a because limitations are there in the free version. Maybe if you have the paid version, you can avoid that problem. But it need to analyze the code block from start to finish. It cannot do the multiple file references. So that's why you think this certain code block might have a problem, then copy and paste that code block. Right. So from that you can get, and in here you can see even the logic part also you can copy and paste. It's not like entire variables from that. Just the logic part also you can copy and paste and try to get the answer from that. Because most of the time our syntax errors comes from syntax or runtime comes from our logics implementation, right? It's not coming from the variables or like initialization, right? So most of the time try to do those kind of steps to avoid those problems, right? So those are some of the guidelines for programmers that you can leverage, especially for programming. So main programming languages are supported. In traditional programming, we have to go to Stack Overflow to find a similar solution. But now we can ask the solution and it's going to reply with sometimes with the explanation, sometimes the solution. But anyway, it's going to have a response for a problem. So then we can investigate about that, and we can get a better understanding what's our problem is looks like, and we can fix that problem, right? But do not try to paste the entire solution. Solution means, let's say your project have 20 30 code files. Do not try to paste everything together. Just like when you are compiling your project, you will get the error in a certain file. Just try to put that because this is a generative AI model. So it's going to look at for a certain patterns, right? So it's not like it's going to compile and see that. It's just looking for certain patterns and ways that you do that. So that's why using ChatGPT, try to just only put that certain code block. Even do not think that ChatGPT is going to compile and do that. It's just going to look at these patterns and going to analyze from that. So it's not like, let's say we put this. It's not like it's going to compile this in a compiler and get that. It's not like that because this is already trained language model. So it's not going to do a compilation and check the answers. It's not like that. It's going to look at for a certain pattern. So when you put a pattern, like when you make a mistake, it's the same mistake all the developers are making, right? So it's look for that pattern. So that's why just put that certain code block. It's going to analyze the pattern. And if there's any mismatch in that pattern, then you will get the answer, right? Do not think like it's going to compile and do that. It's just going to look at for a pattern from a certain problem, right? So then you can get the solution from that. So you need to think in a little bit creative way to do that. So that's why in that. So it's not going to compile the code that you provided. It's not going to do that because this is a language model. So in a language model, you can all do is put the input and you will get the output. It's a model, AI model. So AI model cannot compile another source code. It's already running a Python source code. So it cannot compile another source code. What it does is looking at a certain pattern, is try to mimic that pattern and try to get an answer from that pattern. Initially, of course, there's a lot of errors in the result. But what happened is, when initially released in 2022, there are millions of users inputting this, whatever their use cases and providing feedback. So the main feature of the AI model is if you have millions of or more users trying to improve the model, then that model get improved, right? So we call this in AI model training. So if the training process or retraining process improved, then you get a better result. So that's why we have that GPT 1 to now going to 4 into 5, something like that in life cycle, where your language model is much more accurate. still you get some error kind of outputs, but small percentage. So in the programming, what it does is it's going to analyze a pattern. All these inputs are like that. It's going to analyze a certain pattern behavior because all the AI models created in that kind of way. But it uses kind of generative AI technology where it's going to generate the result in a natural language format. So in that they have added programming is it's not natural language. It's programming is a different language. So they have analyzed this and they have trained that in the programming language context for this particular use case. That is where the programmers can leverage ChatGPT as another use case. Later, I will share a few more examples that because I'm going to explain a lot of different use cases for a lot of different industries as well. And also we can ask the ChatGPT to write code. Again, do not ask to write Grab software. Do not ask to write like entire ride-hailing software like Uber. It's not like that. You can ask to write a certain part of the code, right? Maybe a class, maybe a certain programming block, certain algorithm. So likewise, you can ask a certain part, a certain script. Then you can later use whatever the software you are using, a development tool, to bring everything together. But at the moment, you cannot ask like, build me an entire solution, and you don't get that. But you can ask to write a certain script, coding script, and it's going to write that. So here, in this example, you can ask the ChatGPT to write a Python code, terminal-based game for tic-tac-toe. This is, again, use case for programmers where you can use Python and terminal-based games called tic-tac-toe. So you can ask the ChatGPT to write the code script, and also we can play that game that's created by ChatGPT with ChatGPT as well, right? So here you can see this is the prompt. Write a complete Python program to play a terminal-based game tic-tac-toe and write a file called t.py. So we can ask to write that into a file, t.py, right? So from that, it's going to generate this code. There's a question, do we know ChatGPT solution 100% accurate? So at the moment, any AI model is not going to be 100% accurate because if you look at AI concepts, the main component of the AI concept is the AI model. So the maximum accuracy for AI model is 99.999 because you cannot get 100% accuracy. That is called overfitting. That's another problem in AI technology. So maximum is like that. But still, ChatGPT doesn't achieve the 99.999. But over 90-95 within that range, we have ChatGPT is providing. But you can check the exact accuracy in their documentation. But so still, on average, 5 to 6% kind of error can have in ChatGPT. But if you look at other competitors like Google Bard, it's much higher error rate. So at the moment, if you compare with what available in the market, ChatGPT providing a less high error rate, but still it doesn't achieve 99.999. That's the maximum any AI model can achieve, because if you achieve 100, that is called overfitting. So it's still not achieved that, but still the result is really accurate because the error is really small percentage. But we always need to double check the error to make sure that we are getting this information accurately using that. But the error percentage is really lower at the moment, right? Error percentage is really lower at the moment in this ChatGPT model, right? So there's another question about Bard. So Google Bard, actually, I think recently they have allowed in other territories as well with the Google I/O Summit that happened, I think, 2 days ago. From that, they introduced a couple of competing features and automated email writing feature for Gmail and a lot of capabilities. But still, Bard is a little bit far behind when you compare to ChatGPT, because even though Google had invested billions of dollars, still you can check with the answer. You can type the same answer for ChatGPT and same answer for Bard, because ChatGPT have the early mover advantage. As I mentioned, back in 2022. They had millions of users as a test subjects to testing this and asking questions to improve the model. But in BART, people are not doing that. When they get a wrong answer, they are not trying most of the time. They might go to ChatGPT. So BART will still, we need to make sure, we need to see in a couple of months what the story will be like. But at the moment, that's the situation. When you get a wrong answer, you get to most likely to go for ChatGPT. So in the BART early stage, you will get a lot of wrong answers because you need a large user case, because BART is like the ChatGPT at the early stage at the moment. So, but there are a lot of opportunities for other competitors, competitive different tools. But we will see what's the ChatGPT versus BART story looks like in coming months. I'm just explaining the situation at the moment, and it's now available in most of the regions because recently Google had this Google I/O Summit. From that, they have allowed this for a lot of region, but still they are really far behind from what ChatGPT provides to what BART provides. But we want to see, like, in coming months, what's the situation is, how the people react, and all this matters, you know, all this technology softwares like that. I'm just explaining what the current situation is like. So here we can ask to right. So here we can just copy, put the I ask the ChatGPT to create the Python code. Then we can also play the game, right? We can ask to execute the following command and run the Python program like this, right? Here. So here the what ChatGPT does differently is what Google cannot do, because traditionally for programmers, you know, when you try to, there's no tool to generate the code. We need to look at for source code examples, right? So based on the developer's experience in the website, you will get different methods. But here it is one language model. So every time you will get these responses in a much more standardized way, right? That's another advantage. Let's say you want to, as a programmer, you want to find a sample source code for a certain problem. If you depend on the problem, depend on the available website, the internet, the answer is different and their coding skills are different. But here you get the same standard because it uses the same one single language model. So you'll get the same standard all the time in your response, right? So you can see how ChatGPT helps you to do that. And then you can use this to play the game. It's another use case like this. So you can ask ChatGPT here, right? Right. Then the main advantage comes from ChatGPT for the research field. Here we can see explain things. When you are getting explanation, when you want to learn a certain topic, when you want to learn about certain keyword, that is where ChatGPT has the highest kind of potential. Where I will show a couple of examples and how it can be differentiated from Google or other competitors. So here we can start with the simple explanation. Explain the header format of IPv6. This is a networking keyword. So you can ask the ChatGPT to explain the header format of IPv6, right? Then you can see you get a standard explanation like this. Even you can argue in Google, when you do a Google search in this, you will get the same thing. But in ChatGPT, you can see what is the advantage, value-added advantage. So I will move into the next slide. So here you can see explain like I'm 5. So let's say you want to learn about completely new topic that is completely new to you, right? From the beginning, you want to research about that. Then you can use these keywords like I am 5. So it's like you are explaining for a small kid. You know, like when you try to explain a complex scenario for a, let's say for a small kid, then your way of explaining is completely different than you are explaining the same thing for a professional or student. So you have this keyword, you can see, you can even enter this as a age. Let's say explain like I am 10, then you get the explanation relevant to 10-year-old. So because it used the natural language, NLP technology, where it used the generative AI. So it's used the way that we, similar to the way we speak and similar to the way we explain things for others, right? like I'm explaining you the concept. So similarly, it uses a similar approach. If the model is really accurate, you get a really good result. So that is what ChatGPT is at the moment, where you get a really amazing result. So here is a usage of the language, right? So the same concept you can ask, like explain like I'm five. So if you want to learn something completely new from the like you don't have any idea, then you can use the keyword and use explain like I'm five. You get a simple kind of a simplest way of explaining things, right? So that is a unique way because at the moment there's no other tool can do that. Where if you try Google, you don't get that because Google only can provide if it is available in a website, right? If it is not available in a website, it cannot provide that information at all. That's the disadvantage for the Google. Only other Chat GPT like software can compete, but there's at the moment Chat GPT is the market leader. So here you can see what are wormholes. Explain like I'm five. So you can see here you can see the explanation in a much more simpler way. Explanation is a much more simpler way than explaining that you find in a Google, right? So that is where the really advantage comes in ChatGPT. So if you want to learn a complex thing, maybe in the industry or different industry, there are hundreds and thousands of these keywords. If you want to learn that, because even in the YouTube, if someone create and record the video only, that is available. In Google, someone create a website or article only, that is available. But the language is same. We cannot change the language. We cannot simplify the language, right? The content in the website is same. Person who is speaking on the YouTube video is same. We cannot change the language, way the language speak. But here, for the same concept, we can change the way the explanation whether we want, right? So here you can see we can simplify. Explain like I'm a five is simplifying that concept, right? So that is a one prompt that you can have to simplify the things. Then explain in a particular style, right? You can see here cowboy from all Western like Texas or middle US, right? Where we can have a certain accent or certain way of style where you are asking the question to HTTPS stack. It's a networking keyword, but still we can have particular style. So that is never possible in Google. Bard is still trying on to that. So that is why the advantage comes in. So where we can leverage these language capabilities, right? Maybe the age, maybe the way of speaking, like the style. Also, you can define, and it's applied for almost all the topics you search in ChatGPT. It's not limited to HTTPS or any other topic. Almost millions and millions of keywords. It use this. Why? It use the language generation. We call as generative AI. So any topic, it use the generative language feature. Like we are explaining things. Like I'm explaining to you, it's use the similar thing in the their model. So it can explain things in a different way, but exactly the same topic, right? Yeah, so that's right. So there's a use case math concept. So if you ask like what is cosine, what is sine, or like let's say advanced calculus, and later I will show the math related things as well. That's another entirely different use case. But that's where the power of ChatGPT comes in, because what you cannot find in YouTube or what you cannot find in a website, you can get that clear explanation in the ChatGPT because of these prompt, right? It's not the information. Information, of course, we can find Google and get that. It's the way that we want to get that information, way the description that we want, right? Especially complex things, how we can simplify. It's like asking your friend, like let's say you are at work, you are asking a friend about some topic in the industry, but you need a simple explanation. Let's say student, you're asking your student, other friend, for some topic in the school, but you need a simple explanation. But you cannot find that. Sometimes, of course, you research hours, of course, you can find, but here you can see any answer. You don't need to spend hours. It's just a couple of seconds. Matter of typing, that's it. You'll get every answer within seconds. The bandwidth issue is there, but that is a network issue, but normally all the answers are within couple of seconds away. Just type and enter, you will get the answer, right? So that is a really value added, especially to learn things, research things, right? And it can also process things as well. for multiple kind of information as well. So these are a lot of valuable features that no other tool at the moment can provide. Of course, in the coming months, we can see a lot of other tools trying to do that. BART is example and other use cases. But what I'm explaining is at the moment with the market leader. So here you can see this is just again example, right? It's not a keyword or anything. It's just example. You can try with other accent and other ways, and you will get a lot of different results. It's not like a keyword, right? Don't think like a keyword. It's a way that you ask the colleague, like a way, different way of doing this, right? So you can have age as a different way and a style as a different way, and it's almost apply for all the topics in the the world, like millions of topics that we can try. Then another use case, get ideas for AI art, decoration, party themes. So this again 3 things, but it's not limited to 3. It's not like that. It's just example, but you can get ideas, right? That's where it impacting the creative industry, because creative industry is all about coming up with new things, maybe an idea, maybe a concept, maybe a script. So this ChatGPT can impact creative industry really hardly because of these features that they are providing. Because traditional software only impacted the logical side, like you need to click this and click that to get this, something like that. But here, this ChatGPT can do a lot of creative things than a human being, more like a professional in that industry. So here you can see we can ask for a birthday party theme, and also we can specify the age, right? So if you try to search this in Google, if there's a website only, you will get that. Otherwise, you don't get that, because someone need to create a website and need to have the article up, and the website need to be live to see that. Then only Google index it. But we cannot do this, right? So here is different. Like it use the language from the knowledge that is have, because there's a knowledge component and there's a language component, right? It's like we are learning things. I'm learning a new thing and I'm explaining it to you. So this language model have a knowledge component. It's learn about these things, and it have a language component that can explain things in a different way. So that is the 2 things that it use. The BARD also used a similar approach, but only thing is it really at the early stage. So here you can see, give me a party idea for birthday party for 29-year-old, right? Then cocktail party, game night, movie night. So likewise, you will get some suggestions, right, from that. So other way to get this from Google, but Google, as I mentioned, there need to be a website to get that. Otherwise, we cannot get that. But here you can see it's not like that. So we can get these creative things out of the ChatGPT, and we can explain, and we can use this different prompt. So here we are specifying the age, 29-year-old, let's say for 5-year-old. So likewise, you will get a unique answer. And another feature, another main feature advantage in the ChatGPT is if you type this exact thing 2 times, then you'll get the 2 different responses, and both responses are unique in the way, right? In Google, you don't get that. You get the exact information. That's why this is impacting academic as well and try to do assignments, because every time the response you are getting is unique, and also every time is a new one. So if you so later I will show some example. You can also type the exact thing. You will get a unique answer. I will get a unique answer, right? It's not like even though we ask the same question, we both get the same answer. It's not like that. We get the correct answer. If it is a mathematical formula, of course, we'll get the same answer. But if it is a writing related things, we get a unique write-up for our answer question, right? We get a unique write-up. Both are correct, but both are unique. It's not copied, right? So that is another unique feature in ChatGPT. Even I try the same question another time, you will get another answer. That answer also correct, but is explained in a different way, right? In a unique way. All right. So that is another main feature in ChatGPT. So we are not going to duplicate the answer, right? You are not getting a duplicate answer. If it is only in logical ones, you might get like mathematical equation or programming code, you will get some similar answer, because if you ask a question, what is if condition, and give an example, of course, that need to be a unique one. but still you might get a little bit differentiate one. You can see this clearly in the creative writing, where we get a unique write-up for the question, right? There's a question about interrogation. I will discuss that toward the end of the session. There are a lot of interrogations. We can do that with OpenAI API, where we can create a lot of packages and softwares from this. I will explain that toward the end of the session. This one, this have a lot of ethical side. At the moment, some universities have banned using ChatGPT. Why? Because of this feature, where it can provide answers to your assessments, homework, or anything, and it's really hard to see whether someone copied it or not. There are now tools to see whether it's generated or not, but at the moment, still a little bit difficult to catch whether the student used ChatGPT or not. Because of that, a lot of students trying to use this. So as a student, it's not a good practice. Why? Because they need to learn the things and they need to practice. But as a professional, we can reduce the effort that we are putting in for our work. But as a student, it's not a good practice. What good way is they can compare their answer with the ChatGPT answer. They can do the comparison and they can learn from it. But if someone try to exactly get the answers from that, there's ethical side of this. That's where the ethical side of this chat and AI tools comes in, and a lot of regulations and all these things building up. Recently also there was a AI related hearing for building up these regulations as well. So there's ethical side and regulation side also going to come up soon. Especially this one is mostly for academic side. Some universities I have seen in UK banned some using ChatGPT, but little bit difficult to track also whether they have used the ChatGPT or not, because every time you will get unique kind of a output. And this is another one you can use to write music. So now you can see it's really impacting these creative industries, right? Because the music writing is a really creative industry. Not everyone can do that, right? Writing a song, not everyone can do that, and you need to write a unique one because there are a lot of copyright laws and everything. So here, let me give example. So you can, here you can say, right, write a song, right, about New York. Write a song about New York. So here you can see it's going to create a song. So you can see like this. So it's going to create a unique song. You can also try the same command in ChatGPT and you can see the song. And within a couple of seconds, you can see all the features of the song is generated. And you can use copywriting tool and see whether it's copyrighted or not, because in the music industry, mainly the song writing involved with copyrights and regulations, things like that. And you can say it's not copied from another songwriter or likewise. It's a unique song, right? So that's why it's impacting music composers and writing or writing industry heavily, because it impacting these creative industries. Traditionally, software tools not able to do that. They need the creative person with the software tool to create the music or do the movie production, all these things. But now these tools can do some part of these creative things. So that is why it's impacting the creative industries heavily. You can see within a few seconds, I managed to get the output for a song, right? And I can click regenerate and you will get the second song about New York like that. And it's not going to stop. You can try as many as you want. And even experienced songwriter cannot do a song in this speed, right? Let's say a really experienced songwriter, even that person cannot do that song within this couple of seconds. It takes more than that to even to type, right? So yeah, it's prompt engineering. Yeah, so this prompt, I will discuss about that as well. So like that, so you can see this impacting a lot of creative industries. Ultimately, the number of person needed for these industries can be reduced, and that's where the impact comes in. Not like tomorrow everyone going to go away. It's like impacting step by step, like in these creative industries. Traditionally, this IT industry or software has not impacted creative industries. Now we have image generation tools, video generation tools, even audio generation tools can generate audios, images, videos, video production, music, all these things. So where it's going to impact these traditional creative industries, right? And soon you can see a lot of music videos completely generated from the AI tools. I'm not saying only ChatGPT, but there are a lot of tools now building up toward this. So you can completely create everything from that. So you can see, you can write a song about New York, and every time you will get the exact kind of a unique result. And you can put this into a copyright kind of tools. There are like some tools to look at song copyrights, whether you have a unique song or not. And you can see most likely you will get a unique song, right? Because it's every time generate a unique song. But again, we have to argue like using this and creating actual song and making money out of it. Still, I didn't see a few percent did that, but again, there are some arguments can comes from that as well. Yeah, you can use this song, use other AI tools and release the song and make money out of it and release to Apple Music or something like that. So then we can see what's the theme behind that. But one just showing the capabilities that is possible with the ChatGPT tool. So here you can see almost anything. You can have a keyword and you can generate a song. Yeah, so copyright issue here, what it does is it uses the unique way of generating this, right? So it's not going to copy actual song, right? And also it doesn't have an idea about the actual song as well, because this is not self-aware, right? It's not the self-aware, then we are in a different situation. It's not self-aware, so it doesn't have idea the song is there. But what it does is it's going to generate a unique kind of a song based on the factors. So here, they look at the factors in New York, like Times Square, Central Park, like key things. And then from that, it's going to generate keywords, right? And then we can try these copywriting tools to see whether there's actual song. But it's highly unlikely because it uses the natural language method, AI tool technique to do that, right? But in traditional musician look at in a different perspective. So, and it's not going to copy from some song as well. So even though you have these keywords, it's not going to have a copyright issue. Why? Because you can have the keywords, not for the keyword. The copyright comes is for the entire song or the part of the song. The copyright comes in. So there are a lot of song copywriting kind of testing tools on the web. You can try that and see whether it's actually have a copyright violation or something, right? So that is where the comes in. But it doesn't use the actual copy from a song or anything. If you use Google, you will get the actual song from the website, and then you cannot copy at all because it's highly copyrighted. But here you will get a unique one. That's applied not only for writing, even now we have image generation tools, later I will show, where we can generate, let's say you are taking a wildlife photography, then you can generate this wildlife photography. Even you can mention the camera and everything, but there's no actual animal. It's just generated from AI, right? Then again, you cannot argue that it's taken from actual photo. It's not like that. It's AI generated that image. You can specify the camera, can specify the scenario, and you can specify the focus, everything, and it's generate this AI image, and it's not copied from any image. It's uniquely generated, its own. So again, later, of course, that's why the AI rules and regulation will come follows. But at the it's generated through the AI. So it's not copied from actual image. So the copyright applies only copied from the actual image. Of course, I'm not a copyright lawyer. I'm not expert in that. I'm just explaining about the general knowledge. What generative AI does is generating this uniquely, right? It's not going to copy. So traditional copyright means you copy something, content, and you use it as your own, right? So that's why the change and the variation comes in, and the regulation need to follows as well, right? Copyright these songs myself if they're uniquely generated, or not only. Yeah, so you can. That's right. So you can get this song without any issue. It's not most likely have an actual song like this. So you can create that song and you can generate. You can research about and see and what kind of songs are there. But you need to look at some, then because this is only the song, then you need to create the music as well. So in this slide, you can see in this slide, you can see it will generate the even the codes as well, right? It generate the codes as well, and still there's no regulation to argue. If you use generative AI, it's not copyrighted. There's no regulation like that, right? So that's why there are a lot of people using at the moment generative AI at the moment. Still, you need to follow the guidelines and regulation. I'm not expert in those copyright laws, but you can see this is creating a unique one that's different from traditional copyright. Traditional copyright means I'm copying exactly that and I'm using that as my own. But what this does is creating a unique one, but it's ultimately owned by ChatGPT is created by that. So there's no rules in that. That's where the regulation comes in, but you will able to get that. But I'm not exactly sure underlying regulation. Just you can research a little bit more about that. But here you can see you can even generate codes for the music, and then you can even play the song with the keyboard or like any musical instrument. Yeah, so like powered by ChatGPT or something. Yeah, so that kind of that's why comes in, because even if you look at ChatGPT also, guidelines, they didn't specify about using their content, because they have created this model to use that. So you can see when you create a report, that project report is used in your projects, right? Ultimately, let's say you are using that project to create a $1 million deal, then then you cannot you can argue ChatGPT might earn a royalty from that. So it's not like that. So still there's no regulation in generative AI. It's like early stage of the blockchain at the moment. So if you look at early stage of the blockchain, there's no regulation. Everyone can invest and make money out of it. But now there are regulations for blockchain, like it considered as asset, and you need to put taxes and everything for blockchain. But still, there's nothing like that. That's where the regulation comes in. But if there's no regulation, you can use it based on the current law. And again, I'm not providing any law expertise on that. You can research a little bit more about that. But these generative AI tools used in the industry at the moment, but the creative industries where they have more regulation, especially music is heavily used in the copyright laws. Then if you use generative videos or text not much used at the moment. So a lot of people are using for their day-to-day work in their job role. But the music industry, movie industries are highly copyrighted kind of industries, where you need to look a little bit further about the regulations involved using that, right? Then we can use ChatGPT for translation as well, right? So again, at the moment, you don't need to mention the credits. Let's say you create a project report using ChatGPT. There's no need to put created by ChatGPT. There's no need for that. Even they are not specifying for that. At the moment, there's no need. That's why the regulation follows. These are new technology, just released 6 months, but the rules are not there at the moment. So that's why these are really new kind of ways that we can use this, right? Because of the ChatGPT, a lot of other AI tools now comes in, right? So that's why the competition also, and a lot of new options available for professionals as well. And you can use ChatGPT for translation as well. Here you can see, you can ask, how do you say, where is the bus stop in Spanish? So here you can see, you will get explanation, word to word answer, and the result like that, right? So again, you can compare the same response with BARD as well. Later, we will do a session on the BARD as well. This session only focused on ChatGPT, and we are not promoting ChatGPT. It's just explaining about the usage of ChatGPT. But based on the different context, sometimes BARD will be better than ChatGPT. We can do a comparison later. But in this meetup, I'm just explaining about ChatGPT and its usage. Right, it's not a sponsor session from the OpenAI team or anyone. It's just a knowledge sharing about the ChatGPT. Later, we will have another meetup to discuss about BARD as well. Then you can see differentiation. But ultimately, BARD can be good. Why? Google is a $1 trillion company, where OpenAI is a couple of $1 billion company. So Google have unlimited resources to make BARD number one, right? So they have the resources to do that compared to OpenAI. So that is where main advantage, and now Microsoft also there. So because of that, Bart can be better in coming weeks or months. We can discuss about that in later meetups. Right. So here you can see we can use ChatGPT for translation as well. And this one is for data analyst. Data analysts, they want to extract certain data. So let's say data analysts have a certain paragraph or certain explanation. From that, BI engineers or the data analysts want to extract this information, and they want to get like this. So here you can see we have this explanation. Then we are asking ChatGPT extract data classes, company data card into simple JSON format. So then you will get a JSON response from that. So this is useful for data engineers, business data analysts, BI engineers, where you have a certain information and you need to extract that and you need to convert to a more readable data formats. JSON is a one format, maybe CSV file format like that. So that's also possible with ChatGPT. Where you can give a certain explanation, do that. So without ChatGPT, of course, we cannot do this from Google. We have to manually do that. So that time can be reduced. So if you manually do that, even for experienced person, it can take 1 or 2 hours. But any response from ChatGPT, just a couple of seconds. So even experience, it can beat the experienced person as well. Even if you are senior experience, it takes at least 1 hour or 30 minutes. But any response from ChatGPT is a couple of seconds away. Right. Then grading side, again, we can argue the ethical side in this as well. This is again for academic staff when they want to grade for teachers and academic staff, where they can grade that created. But ultimately, if students use ChatGPT and academic use ChatGPT, but ChatGPT does is getting the grades from the ChatGPT as well, right? So that's why. So the answer generated by ChatGPT and also getting that from the ChatGPT as well, right? So we can argue about that as well. But here you can see how we can grade the essays, using this. Right? So here you can see we can enter the text and then it will get the answer for grading the essay, right? Okay. And we can solve math question, right? We can solve the math question here, right? Okay, so we can solve the math question. So we can ask a certain problem from ChatGPT and you can ask that, right? So where you can ask a certain problem statement and you can ask how to solve that math. So here we have a certain math like the complex math problem and the simple math problem. Then you can ask the ChatGPT to enter that, right? So here you can see here, you can see solve like this here. Then you will get the answer 40, right? Then also you can ask show your work. Then it shows the work, the step by step, right? Step by step, what's your solution, right? So you can have a mathematical explanation for your problem. So you can use for scientific calculation and use for different advanced mathematics. You can use that. And you can compare the answer with the BART. So even the same thing, you can test with the BART. So for example, so here you can see, I just said write a song about New York, right? Write a song about New York. Then I can use the same thing and I can ask the BART about that, right? Then you can compare the answer with the ChatGPT versus BART. Then you can easily see first the differentiation in that. See here, differentiation in that, right? So you can compare with the answer in that. So here you can see it have the same kind of words and you can compare. It's purely with that you can see the response and then you can ask to, there's no regenerate option, it's only one generation, right? We have to do it again for the second time to get the answer again like this, right? So like this, right? So you can compare this with the answer for the ChatGPT and then you can see for yourself what is good, right? If you can get your answer from BART, you can use that. If you're getting from answer from ChatGPT, you can use that, right? You have complete freedom to do that. And ultimately, there'll be another players comes in then you can compare with that as well, right? Later we'll be doing another session from Bard as well. This week, Google I/O announced a lot of capabilities on this as well. But you can check the answers, the responses you are getting. You can check one-to-one, right? So here, this one with this one, right? You can check one-to-one and see what is the better solution. Now you have two options, but before 6 months, we only had one option, but coming months, there'll be 3, 4 other options, right? So as a professional, what we need to know is how to use the better option for our current usage, right? So I'm not promoting BART, or I'm not promoting ChatGPT. I'm just explaining how to use this effectively for your work, right? I'm not promoting any of this product. I'm just explaining you how better to use this tool in your industry to make your life productive. So that is the ultimate idea behind this meetup, to make the life productive and use these tools effectively in your professional life, right? So you can either use BART or ChatGPT if you are getting. Now we have two options, but coming months, as I mentioned, you might have 3 or 4 other options. Other companies, let's say Apple, might come up with another product. Then you can compare with that, right? So based on the preferences, you can select and you can use the better option. That is completely up to you. And if it is make productive, you can use. So sometimes it could be BART, sometimes it could be ChatGPT, or sometimes it could be any other tool like that. Because last year around this month, around May, we didn't have the tool called ChatGPT, right? It's completely a new tool. So likewise, BART is new at the moment. Similarly, there'll be another tool coming in. So what our plan is to explain about these new technologies and give you the best knowledge that is available as possible, right? So you can choose, right, either BART or either ChatGPT or any other tools that's going to comes into the marketplace, right? So in this session is focused on ChatGPT. So I'm explaining the concepts and topics, because last meetup we had over 600 registrations. So most of the members not able to join. So it's the same session actually we are having for today's session. So that's why I have to go through the exactly same topics similar to the last session, where some of the team, the participants not able to join for the last one because we had 600 registrations. Okay, and this is the one tool that we are working on. So where this is another kind of a POC. So where you can now come up with a lot of new technologies and tools from that. So what this tool does is you can enter a document, or you can enter an article, and then you can ask question from that, right? So this is one of the tool that we are working on. So where you can enter a URL, web URL, or you can enter a PDF, then you can ask question from that. So the bot can respond from that document. Let's say you have a 1000-page book that you want to research and you need to get the content. So ChatGPT cannot analyze directly this 1000-page book. We can generally ask the question, but we cannot specify, I want to get this book and summarize the exact book. But here we can do that. So let's say we have a 1000-page book. So we upload this, and then we can ask question from that book, and then you will get the answer. So like that, now you can see a lot of new these innovations comes in coming months. You can see a lot of new tools and technologies comes in into the marketplace that going to have different use cases. Of course, it's really difficult to create a tool like ChatGPT or BART. Why? Because it spent billions of dollars. People have spent billions of dollars, companies, to do that. But as a startups, you can come up with a lot of creative ideas. So to come up with these different tools, and then of course you can go to investor with the investor and make the company public and things like that. So this is one of the tool that we are working on. So now we are going into the last part of the session. If you have any other meetings, of course, we will share the recording as well. So now we are moving into the last part of the session, where we will discuss about prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is the technique that ChatGPT and BART use. So it's how this large language model can be created. So now we're discussing a technical side of things. It is how these large language models are created, right? So it used in either both BART and it used in both ChatGPT as well. And remember, these are the not only tools that is in the market. There are a lot of other tools because this is an open source technology that we can create a language model much easily. But what ChatGPT had earlier was millions of users giving feedback to improve the model. And then BART is backing up by Google. So that kind of resources they had to make this into a mass market. That is what they had. But using open source technologies like Python and NLP framework and PyTorch and these Python packages, we can also create a language model. But for training, of course, we need to do sort of computation to do the training of the model. So the main part of this is a prompt engineering. So now I'm going into more technical side. That is where these language models like BART or ChatGPT use called large language model. We call this as a LLM. So LLM is a large language model. That is what ChatGPT and BART are used, and that is the how they have created this. So I'm explaining about how this works and how we can leverage this technology as a technical point of view. Earlier, I have explained it as a user point of view in different industries. Now I'm going to explain it in a technical point of view. If you want to develop something similar or something in this scale, how you can approach this. What are the tools and techniques that is available to do that? So basic prompt. So basic prompt is how you can enter, how it capture what you have typed, right? So you can see we have to develop these key things, right? So how user enter a certain text and how it captures. So both ChatGPT and BART use these techniques to build their language models, right? So it captures these inputs from the input prompt and it's going to build upon that. So here you can see it use this prompt from that. Because you can see there are certain ways that we can ask a question, right? So you can use ChatGPT or BART. You can ask certain question in a way. So based on that, language model need to process that and provide the correct answer to that problem, right? So that is where the question and answer. So what we are doing with ChatGPT or BART is question and answer. We are asking a question. We are not asking how you are feeling, how are you doing today, right? Not like that. We are asking always a question, right? So ChatGPT BART, what we are asking is a question, right? Remember that in a normal chatbots, it's not like that. If you look at the traditional customer care chatbots, it's not a question, like it's more conversation, right? But here, most of the time it's a question format that BART and ChatGPT works, because BART is exact competition for ChatGPT, is exactly doing the same thing. So we can see which one doing much better with the results. But both are very much the same way of underlying technology is very much the same, where we can ask a question and then it's going to get the answer from that. But if you look at these natural language techniques, there are a lot of techniques out there. Question answer is only one technique. There's a conversational AI. The traditional, if you look at Alexa and Google Assistant, that use conversational AI. So that means we can have as a conversation. So we can have, hello, how are you? What can I do for you? Likewise, it's a back and forth, continuous conversation. But in ChatGPT, you cannot see that conversation. Even in BART, there's no conversation. It's just a question we can ask, and then we get the response toward that. So that is the second thing I want to highlight. So we can get the question answer format. So it's only one way of building a chatbot, because this is a chatbot. There are various ways of creating chatbots. So it follows one specified way. This ChatGPT follows one specified way. That is what I'm highlighting. But creating chatbot, there are many ways to do that. So it used the question and answer method to build this chatbot, right? So that is the one technique that is follows. Then it used another method, which is basic prompting, text summarization. So you can see any question you ask is going to summarize into a couple of sentences, right? Any question you ask is going to summarize into a couple of sentences. You can ask for a very large topic or very broad concept. You can ask for a very like a bigger theme or theory, right? but still it always use the summarization. You can see always your answer is limited. You are not getting 200, like 400, 500 lines of response most of the time. So it use this technique called text summarization. That's another natural language processing technique in Python. We can develop that using Python and NLTK framework. So where it used for text summarization. So that is another feature. Both Bard and ChatGPT use that, where it always your response is summarized. So using this summarization feature in Python, if you are a developer or if you are a data scientist, or if you are doing Python development, you can use the NLTK framework and you can apply these frameworks, and then from that you can summarize large text into paragraphs. So that is another technique that this ChatGPT used. So here you can see a prompt and then a summarization on that, like this. Then information extraction. That is another natural language processing technique that is used by this chatbot. Language information extraction, because you need to extract these terms, right? Information. It need to learn about that. So original information, let's say you search about Linux administrative code. When you search about a certain topic, you need to get that information. Because earlier also I mentioned there's a two component. One is a language component. One is a language component. Other is a knowledge component. So this is that knowledge component. So both knowledge and the language component need to be there to create this kind of a chatbot. So both ChatGPT and Bard have the same capabilities internally using that. So need to have that knowledge base set up to get that information extraction, right? So that is also another technique that this chat bot used, where we can extract the information, right? You can see, you can ask a certain question, then it's going to extract from the original resource. And also remember, there's a downside to ChatGPT, where it only provides information up to 2019, early 2020. You cannot get like what is the answers for FIFA World Cup, or like next week any football league match or anything. You cannot get that information because it's not providing recent information, especially sporting event or breaking news or something. Because this model, when the language and this information captured, the model need to be built, compiled. So that happened in a certain time periods. So you don't get what happened today in news. You don't get what happened today in stocks. You don't get that into ChatGPT. But you can feed in that information and you can get the response from that information. But you don't get that knowledge from the ChatGPT. That's a little bit downside, where I'm not going to train on the what's happening today, right? So you can see how Bard responds to that. I didn't test it yet. But in ChatGPT, you don't get that into the recent information. You don't get that. Then question answering is a similar technique that we are using in the ChatGPT. Okay. So now I will show the framework. So this is a one framework that it used. This is called Natural Language Toolkit. So now we are going into more technical side toward the last few minutes of the session. So this is called NLTK. So that is I'm not saying it's not the only software. There's PyTorch, and there are a lot of custom things they have built. But this is a starting point, which is this framework, NLTK, Natural Language Toolkit, where you can do a lot of text analytics and text extraction from this. So this is a one way, the starting point of these chat tools, building this large language model. So where we have to extract the keywords, you need to do the text summarization, question and answer techniques, all this. So this is the starting point, which is the Natural Language Toolkit. I will share the website link. So this is completely open source, right? This is a completely open source tool. Everyone can try it. All the Python tools and technologies are open source completely. So everyone can use it free of charge without any license fee or anything. Everyone can use it much more easily, all the toolkits. So the NLTK is a one toolkit that it used to build this. I'm not saying it's only tool. It used a lot of standard frameworks plus a lot of customized tools and technologies for generative AI and building the large language model, because Source code of ChatGPT is not available. It's not open source. It's proprietary. Even BART source code we cannot see. So those source codes are not open source. It's just proprietary within the organization. No one can see that. But these are some of the building blocks that helps to build this. You can see these frameworks have a tokenization, stemming, tagging, sentiment analysis, text classification like features. So these are some of the building blocks helps to create a tool like that. Plus, there are a lot of other research and frameworks are there. I'm just giving a beginner understanding what are the tool set and technologies helps to get started with the tool like this, right? Okay. So this tool we can install like this, PIP install in LTK. Later in the session, we are planning to do some more technical side of things, Python and data science and tools like that with natural language processing as well. Right, so now we are come toward the end of the session. So if you have any more questions, you can ask. Now we are toward the end of the session. Right, if you have any questions, you can ask. So we have covered a lot of things today, and this is kind of the same within the same topic area, because in the last meetup we had over 600 registrations. So because of that, there's a request to have the session covering similar set of topics to get the better understanding about this. So that's why we have managed to do this session again. We'll be sharing the recording of the session probably over the weekend. So we had over 400 registration for today's meetup, and over 100, around on average 100 to 50 participants are there in today's session. And if you have any further question, we have a few minutes. You can ask. There are a lot of questions in terms of regulation and compare with the BART chat application like that. So I answer a lot of questions. Any other question, of course, you can write to us as well. I will share the email address in the meetup channel also. You can get information. So we to summarize the things we discussed, we started this session focused about ChatGPT. Later we'll plan to have a session about Google Bard as well. So it's not focused on that because of that reason. So we do look at use cases for ChatGPT and how it can be leveraged in different industries. And then we look at some examples and also then the technology behind it, concept behind it. So toward the end, more technical side. And I answer a few questions toward the session as well. And keep engaged to our meetup group. We are planning to bring more sessions like this in the coming months to keep engaged. As I mentioned, this is the continuation from the last 2 weeks ago because of we had over 600 registration, so not able to get everyone into the meetup. So that's why we had this session. Yeah, so we will be sharing this recording to our YouTube channel. So then in the meetup page, we'll be sharing the recording link in our YouTube channel as well. Right, if you have any more question, you can write to us. I think I have provided my LinkedIn as well, so you can connect with us or write to us as well. And looking forward to looking forward to seeing you again in another session like that. We are planning to bring more sessions like this into AI topics. There's image generation, video generation, and audio generation at the moment. With a lot of tools are going into those directions. So looking forward to seeing you again in another meetup like that. So we'll be sharing the session recording, yeah, in the meetup page. So if you have any further question, you can ask. Thank you.